Y'all, it's Jones and Company Realty, and you know we love to get close together with all of our presenters in session. So today, Bill Jurek, who is Mr. Mold and Mr. Radiation and everything else, is going to share with you about 4-point and wind mitigation so that you understand exactly what we're looking at and dealing with, and we can help our customers get over the finish line. So without further ado, Bill Jurek with the home team.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking time out to listen to my little presentation here. The subject at hand is the insurance portions of the inspections that we're running into now, that being the 4-point and the wind mitigation. The way I always tell people about 4 points is it's kind of like the admission ticket to the dance. If your house is any more than about 15 years old anymore, these insurance companies are wanting to know what's been updated, if anything. So obviously, if you get it into a house that's built in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, there's been updates and they want to know how old those are, what condition they're generally in. Mind you, it's not as much of an inspection as it is a survey. We're not going to sit there and try to make things leak what we would do on a regular home inspection to see what's happening and what's not happening. We just want to let people, the insurance companies, know what you have, how old it is, and in general, as long as there's nothing that's going to burn the house down or flood it, no negative thing talking about there, but we just want to be sure that everything's going to be okay for them. Basically, again, for those that might not know, the 4-point is simply the roof, the electrical system, the plumbing system, and the air conditioning system. I'll take the easy stuff first. The water heater and the air conditioning system, they basically want them to be 15 years or younger. If you get something that's 16 or even at 15, the insurance company may say, we'll insure you, but we will charge you another $1,000. And that happened to me on one of my rental properties. Nothing wrong with the water heater, but yes, it was 20 years old. They knew it already. And they were literally going to charge me $1,000 more just because of the age of the water heater. So I, as I would normally do, ran to Home Depot, picked one up off the rack there, took out the perfectly good water heater at the condo, put the new one in, and it only cost me $600. So I felt like I made $400 overnight. But yes.
Time frame for the tankless water heaters?
They haven't established anything as far as that, because basically tankless water heaters are only about 15 years old at the oldest right now. But keep the 15 in mind on any of them right now, because insurance companies, they know less than what we know. And again, when it comes to how long they will actually last is still to be determined, because it's basically a new type of product in the marketplace right now. I have not heard of anybody, even statewide, that's had an issue with a tankless water heater being kicked back yet. But again, insurance companies can change their mind at a moment's notice. They can have 3 of them, just like we're doing right here, sitting in the room, and decide, I had a problem with my tankless, I don't want to be able to insure them anymore. And they can make that rule right there. They don't have to pass in front of any regulators, anything like that. And then boom, with no notice, automatically it's going to be back in there. And then when they get the next 4-point and they don't like what they see, then it becomes our problem again. So it's a learning curve. And when you hear of things like this, don't hesitate to call the inspector. Let your broker know that these things have cropped up again, because God love the insurance agents, you know, they're all good friends and everything like that. It's the unseen, unheard of underwriter that is faceless and nameless and hides behind his phone. That is our enemy on this type of stuff. So, and again, we're all in this together. So any help that you can give us and any help we can give you, just let us know on that. Starting with the electrical. And of course, there's my scam likely phone call for the morning. Yeah, What's that? No, for the morning. For the morning. It'll be another one early or late morning, then early afternoon. And anyways, electrical, a couple things to be concerned with. Even though 99.9% of the product we have here in Southwest Florida has breakers already, there are a couple of type of breaker panels that the insurance companies don't like. And I'll start with the oldest first, and that's Federal Pacific. And you can identify those by the orange tabs on the end of the breakers. It was used extensively in the 70s. And they don't make the breakers anymore. If the breaker does fail, it won't reset, and then you're out of luck on it anyways. But when insurance companies here in Florida see Federal Pacific, they're going to want that system changed out, or again, they may charge a premium to have it done. The other one, and it's more prevalent only because of the age of it, is called a Challenger service panel. And it was prevalent in the 90s. Again, you take certain developments, i.e. around here, the Forest, Parker Lakes, a few other ones like that. They have Challenger panels, and because they overheat them, and my neighbor had a Challenger panel, and I helped him get the gas cans and cars out of his garage when his electrical panel was, in fact, did overheat and would not work, and he had to get it replaced. So I've seen it firsthand. Yes, they do have issues with it, and many companies again won't issue it a policy if somebody has that. Yes, Donna. Generally, and again, I hate to even quote prices anymore because the way Ian has destroyed the pricing of everything. Used to be about $1,500. Okay. And it could be right in that area there, but again, with the way the prices on everything seem to have gone up, take it for what it's worth when it comes to that type of thing, because they too just seem to change it with whatever they want to at any other time. But
panel, and does it affect anything outside?
No,
the connections?
no, usually not. But mind you, they have to disconnect it at the meter, to the meter there to change it. But again, 1,500 used to be a good average. I mean, 100 either way, stuff. But I hate to even guess anymore what they're charging.
2016, and two listings off of McGregor older homes.
Yeah.
And they both had the Federal Pacific.
Yeah.
And when we got to the inspection report, they needed to replace those before the private dollars.
Yeah.
And that was 15 or 16 and 1575.
Correct. And then back to the 70s. In 70, 71, and 72 was the little 3-year period where they were using aluminum wiring in many of the panels, and most of them you'll find are square D panels. Nothing wrong with them or anything like that, but they have the single strand aluminum wiring going to receptacles, switches, and throughout the house. Insurance companies don't like that at all. Now, there are fixes short of completely rewiring. They have what they call Alumicons, where they can add an adapter to the aluminum wire with a piece of copper and makes it supposedly better than what it was. But so again, there's fixes for it, but it is something that might come in if you're listing or selling a house built from 70 to 72. And again, most of those were with square D panels, so don't be too surprised if that shows up on there. Obviously, for the older inventory that we have, I haven't seen a fuse panel in probably 20 years now. But there used to be a time where we would run into homes built in the 50s or older that, yes, still had a fuse panel, but most of those, I believe, have been replaced one way or another, by now, and it's been quite a long time with that. And the last thing with it is the 4th point that we're going to talk about will be the roof, obviously. we just obviously all went through Ian, so we don't have to say too much about what type of roofs last longer or hold up better or anything, but just so you know, when it comes to that, in my humble opinion, your metal roofs, either your stone coated metal, which looks like barrel tile, but it's actually metal. And yes, I have it on my house, holds up as good as any that's out there. I had mine replaced every bit of about 11 years ago. So I went not only through Ian, but I went through Irma with it, and I had no damage, no nothing, period, with it. And that's very good. The standing seam metal, it's flat and got the seams in it where you can see it. Very good product as well. Yes, some of those had some failures and stuff like that. But, you know, again, probably starting with number one, this would be number two, in my humble opinion. Anything past that, the shingles and concrete tile, you're gonna be dealing with it. I had an insurance agent call and said the underwriter saw one tile slipped out on a tile roof and he won't insure it until it's fixed. And it literally was one tile that slipped out about 6 to 8 inches, and they weren't going to insure it. This is how silly these underwriters and everything are getting. And again, as more of these companies go out of business, all the inventory is going to basically about 3 different underwriters right now. And again, they can make up the rules as they see fit. Just be aware that it's not good. And on the same thing, as I tell people all the time, don't shoot the messenger when we say you got this and this and this. But the truth be known, the story of your roof is told through the attic. And even the best of roof systems or shingles that don't look like there's been any damage, many times you can't see any decay or signs of staining until you get into the attic. And so it's key on a regular home inspection to be sure your inspector gets into the attic as best they can to hit the key spots. Anybody that's been doing it for a while knows the most likely spots to have failure is around your electrical mass or any protrusion coming through the house, vents, dryer vents, this type of thing. And of course, any bottom of any valleys is always highly suspect as to where there will possibly be leaks. So just be aware of that. But when it comes to 4 points, they want to know expected ages on these. With shingle roofs, they give it a life expectancy of 20 years. But for a 4 point, they want you to have at least 3 to 5 years of life expectancy left. Okay, so in other words, you're going to be okay if you're 15 or newer, but anything over 15, and you're going to have potential issues depending again on what the underwriter says on that. Tile and metal, they put that number basically at 25, and even metal, I go a little bit higher. I go to 30 on the life expectancy, and again, no kickback short of, you know, if the, like a tile is in an odd place or something, they might not want that done.
The condition becomes more important after it's 15 years old.
Correct.
And I'm assuming your carriers probably gets one.
Correct. And you probably have all heard of the guy that from the insurance company went, drove by the house, said, yeah, it's got shingles, and they can look at the thing and say, yeah, it's 16 years old and stuff. And they're, let's say it needs to be replaced. They haven't even gotten out of the car, let alone get on the roof or in the attic. Yet they can tell this just by looking at it from the car. Anyway, I'm sorry. Just about this far from losing all professionalism when it came to stuff like that. So other things with the plumbing, we'll be taking pictures of just the shutoff valves. We're not operating them or anything like that, but it's something that these insurance companies all just want to see if you got shutoff valves. I have, unless it has a man block system, every house has shutoff valves. I don't know why they waste our time doing it, but they do. So we, you know, try to keep them happy and moving on to the next thing. So we take pictures.
Between condos and houses.
No,
the shutoff
no.
stuff?
No. Yeah, when it comes to shut off valves, no. The only difference between a condo and a house when it comes to the 4-point is many times the roof is not part of the equation with the a condo. I had one just this week and the agent called 3-4 times. They want a wind mitigation. It's a first floor condo in a 3-story building with no impact windows, and they want a wind mitigation. I said, I can do one, but it's not going to get a discount. Oh, they just want it because, and I said, there's nothing that's going to give you a discount. And yes, I charge $100 to write the report. And I says, it's stealing and I won't do it. And I said, you call the agent back, you have them call me, and yes, they can call me. And I will tell them exactly where the bear does his business. And you know, it's terrible. But many of them, again, for condos, they want to know things like the water heater age, air conditioning age, and condition of and type of the electrical panel. And back to plumbing, JJ and I talked about it for a second. Polybutylene pipes, again, very common in the 90s. And most insurance companies will not touch that either, particularly on single family homes. There have been times where condo buildings, again, where the whole building, all multiple units have the same type of plumbing and it's polybutylene and nobody's had a problem. Some of them have been getting insurance on that, but keep that in mind. And again, polybutylene is the gray pipe, not gray, solid gray pipe. Usually have a blue or a red little line in it. And again, blue is cold, red is hot. That's how they identify it when they're putting it in. The pipe, to my knowledge, and I've seen a demonstration where a guy literally crimped off one end of it and blew it up with an air compressor on another and made a balloon out of the pipe, and it still didn't burst. So the water itself has little, if anything, to do with the pipe itself. It has to do with the fittings. And sometimes even with the new stuff, the PEX that they're doing, we will find some corrosion and stuff around the fittings, but the pipe, there's nothing yet. The insurance companies, once they get something, they don't want to give it up. So once they stop doing the writing of the policies on polybutylene, they're not going to go back and say, oops, we made a mistake or anything like that. So I've yet to hear an insurance company say that. So that's what we got with that. Questions about anything on those 4-point reports?
About the HVAC, the age.
Basically, the age they want at 15 or newer.
Okay,
15, yeah, exact, yeah, same like that. And don't get me wrong, some of these old train systems, I mean, mind you, I've been doing this 30 years, but 30 years ago, I'd go in Whiskey Creek and find 25-year-old train air conditioning systems that are still working just fine. And over the years, I found many of these train and carrier systems well into their 20s and working just fine. But the insurance company doesn't want anything that they might possibly have any kind of risk on. So they're going to use that 15-year number and kind of stick to it and through there. And again, please don't shoot the messenger. We just got to tell you what you got with that. Any other questions about that? Okay, now we'll go to the wind mitigation. As I said, the 4 points, the ticket to the dance, and that allows the insurance company to give you that ridiculous quote on your house for the insurance. And now the wind mitigation is designed to get you a discount of sorts on that. And for those of you that aren't here, I'm leaving some of these here. They'll go into the approximate discount you're supposed to be getting from the insurance company based on the different attributes that you get with the wind mitigations. The first thing, of course, is the age of the roof. And the funniest thing is you can have a 20-year-old roof and get a discount. Okay. They might not insure it because it's 20 years old, but technically by the wind mitigation, if it was put on March 1st of 2002 or now, up to now, that's eligible for a discount. Makes it absolutely, okay, and again, welcome to the world of insurance. Okay, so anyways, but that's, everything code-wise is dated by that. So you're gonna wanna have, most of them have a newer roof already. I mean, we did have one this week already that was a tile roof, and it was 25 years old and did not fall into that thing, but rarely do we find any roof on most residential that doesn't fit in the first part there. The key thing that we find is the way the trusses and or rafters are attached to the structure itself. And that's either called clips or single wraps, or if you're out on Sanibel, they have double wraps where the metal goes across the truss on both sides and attaches on both sides. And they lovingly call those Sanibel straps, you know, because it's the most common place that they do find them. But houses built basically in the early 80s and older may have a metal strap that comes up everything of about 4 inches and has a couple of nails that goes into the trusses to make it so they don't move and stuff. And for the most part, they never move, even with the two nails. The insurance company wants a third nail. They want 3 nails in these clips, even though, again, the house has been there 50, 70 years now. They don't care. And they just want that third. And that's one of the biggest discounts you get on your insurance. It's easily over 50% in some cases of what the rate they're going to charge you is the discount you'll get for that third nail. So if you're dealing with a property that's in the 70s, early 80s, like again, most of them only going to have the 2. There's a couple of companies that are out there that have made just a heck of a good business out of adding the third nails to these straps. Many times they just go through the soffit in the house, so they don't physically have to get all the way into the attic, get it from there, replace the soffit again, and charge about $1,000, which is usually the minimum discount you're going to get on that clip portion right there anyway. So it's like the first year is a push when it comes to the money you're going to spend, but then you get that discount every year after that because you've taken care of it there.
Number 3.
It is number 3.
What, because which is the weakest one?
Right.
You check C. So A, B, C, what
If-
would make us go, oh my God?
Okay, and let me go to that. Let me. 2 is the roof coming. I apologize, JJ. 3 is the roof deck attachment. That's your nailing.
Okay.
Okay, but we're going to skip 3 for a second. We're going to go down to 4, which is where we're at right now.
I'm sorry.
And no, it's a problem. And again, in all of these, it is the weakest, and it's in capital letters in through here, bold, underlined, the whole bit. In other words, if I go into an attic and I find a spot where 3, 4 of the clips have the third nail and I see 1 right here that doesn't, technically that's your weakest, and the underwriter doesn't want to give you a discount. And yes, believe it or not, they will send their own inspector out after us, after we do ours, to try and find that 1 clip that doesn't have the third nail, so they can take that discount away and charge you again for that. And they will, and they whatever. But you know, again, don't shoot the messenger, but that is one of the biggest things that we have. And all that being said, I'm just going to underline this because this is important. Yes, they will send somebody else that they're paying to find the report wrong so they can collect more money from you. That's how dirty this business is. And yes, I lost my professionalism, but that's the way it is with that. Yeah. No, you don't really want that. Anyways, okay, back to number 3, which is called the roof deck attachment. And that's how the plywood or boards are attached to the trusses. Now, with today's standards, any of the newer roofs over the last 10, 12 years have all been put on if they're done by a licensed roofing contractor. Big thing there. With what they call 6-6 nailing. In other words, it's an 8D nail, which is 2.5 inches long. And 2 inches of that will be seen from the attic when they miss the truss. They don't care that they missed the truss. They just, want to know that you tried putting these nails in. Anyways, but we have to show a tape measure up there that it's 2 inches and that you got one every 6 inches or less. Okay, not 6.5, not 8, 6, 5, 4, but it has to be 6 and through there. Again, with the new codes, these guys have been doing this, and rarely is that an issue, on anything. And to the point, yeah, are we going to check every truss to be sure every place? No. We're going to find out what we can, document what we can, knowing that it's going to be, again, if there's a roof permit, we can pull and find out. We know it's been done by a licensed contractor. Yeah, everybody can make a mistake, but guess what? 99.9% of the time they do it right. So that's usually, and that will be letter C on that form as well. A, right. You get back much beyond 2012 or newer. Sometimes back then they were still using 6D nails, which are shorter. An inch and inch and a half is the exposed area. They're 2 inches as opposed to 2.5. They won't give you a discount for a 6D nail. Okay. And so that's why they want these 8D nails and that. So a 6D nail on roof deck attachment would go under A. And then if you go way back, they were actually using staples, metal staples, to go through the plywood into the truss. And again, no discount for that as well. But again, those are older roofs and roof decking that you'll find with that. Again, most of the newer stuff is going to be proper and get you the necessary discounts. And then just to go back for a second to number 4 with the different type of wraps that you have there, the roof to wall attachment, should say. We talked about the clips. Single wraps are a piece of metal that go over the top of the truss, have to have 2 nails minimum on one side and 1 nail minimum as it comes across on the other side. So if you have, say, 3 nails going up and nothing on the back side of it, technically it's still going to get a discount, but it's considered a clip as opposed to a single wrap. And there's virtually no change when it comes to the discount these insurance companies give. And clips straight up with multiple nails in it, no matter how new it is acceptable as long as there's at least 3 nails on there and it is open for a discount. And then the double wraps, like we say, is very common out on Sanibel with the type of construction they have out there. We don't see too much of that. Otherwise, it's usually either the clips or the single wraps in there. If the house is a frame house, in other words, no concrete block to where the trusses come down into it, the clips attach to the top plate of the wall and then they attach to the truss. You usually cannot see the nails that attach to the wall structure, but you can see the ones there. Most of those already have 3 nails in them, but I can guarantee you there's another nail in the part that you can't see. And to be perfectly honest, if there's only 2 on the part that you can see and it's the regular clip that attaches, we know there's 1 more. I'm putting 3. Excuse me, but the hell with the insurance companies on that. And if their inspector says that, I'll take them out there and make them damage that wall to find that other nail that I know is there. Again, it's basic construction knowledge that goes a long way to some of this stuff. And some of these people driving around in cars and stuff just don't know it. They're hired. Well, drive around, take pictures. Thank you very much. Number 6, secondary water resistance. Any type of new tile roof, metal roof, or anything like that. Basically, as you see them going by, it's what I call the peel and stick. Right now, you'll see it down, and then no matter if they're putting shingles, metal, tile, whatever, they're using that as opposed to quote unquote tar paper before. And that actually gets you a small discount, but it does get you a discount off of your insurance premium for having that. So if anybody was to say, well, what's the difference? They want a couple $100 more for the peel and stick as opposed to the tar paper. And it's worth it. It is a true secondary water resistance. So it's going to give you the peace of mind of that. Plus it gets you a little bit of a discount on that as well. And then, again, if you get back 10, 12 years, even the tile roofs, they were put down with the tar paper first, and you won't see that. It'll only be onto the newer stuff as you go for. And newer, basically, let's just use round numbers, about 10 years or newer on that type of there. So a few additional discounts you can get there. And then we get to opening protection. And again, right in the thing, underline the fourth word in the thing, weakest, underline, bolded. They don't care that you spent, $10,000, $15,000 getting every window replaced in the house. If you forgot about the garage door, you don't get a discount. Okay. If you forgot about the skylight, you don't get a discount. And again, glass block, even though I doubt that you could ever put a 2x4 through a glass block if it doesn't have a panel to protect it, most of them are not rated for hurricane protection. We did one house that was remodeled every bit of 20 years old. And yes, it did have one small little crack in a glass block. And I can't remember the last time I saw something like that, but we did see one. But again, nothing's ever going to penetrate it again. And this was done, it was right on the river over here. And it was right after Ian that we were there. So, but again, no discount just because of that. And again, insurance companies, they can wave whatever magic wand they want. Some guy might say, oh, glass block, we don't care about that. And they might give a discount, but don't count on it is all I can say with that. And then the rest of it is just what our information as far as our licensing, and then pictures verifying everything that we have stated in there, because of course we are all liars. And we have to document everything we're saying on these things, because no, we're not going to go up and sweat in an attic to get all these pictures, for you for that. But again, I'm sorry, I'm on my high horse. And, yeah, right, exactly. I've got a whole library I can sell somebody. But okay, we didn't talk about the roof configuration, and I apologize for that. We'll go back to that for a second. Everybody know what a gable roof is when it just comes to a point, and a hip roof is where it comes on an angle up and goes to a point farther in. Gables, you're not going to get any kind of discount period of end of report. If you have a combination of them, sometimes if the gable portion is less than 10% of the total portion of the lineal features, if you will. And by lineal, I mean, you got a 40 by 60 foot house. Okay. You got 40 here is 80, you got 60 there, 60 there, it's 120. You got 200 lineal feet. If you've got 22 feet of gable, you're not getting the discount for him. Okay. And so you got that nice little gable over your garage, and it's the only spot. And you got another little gable over your front entry. And those two spots are about 24 feet. Most houses won't get a discount, even with everything else being, even in new houses. And yes, I apologize for anybody that this falls into. Architects build them or draw them up real nice, but they're not thinking about wind mitigations. They're not thinking about all the stuff. They know codes, but they're not talking discounts. And the gable looks much more attractive in many things than a hip. Yes.
So if we have a client or us ourselves are going to build a new home, we'll come to you first and say, hey, we want to make sure that we get the best coverage possible. What do you think about this, and this? Can we do
No, but no, but great question, but I can tell you what to look for. And again, the biggest thing on new construction is going to be just that roof configuration. And the gables is the only thing that would, in our construction codes here, that won't get you a discount. Okay, so, you know, a hip roof will get you a discount, but gable won't. Yeah, yeah. Or if you had a flat roof, forget about flats. I mean, I can't remember the last time I seen a flat roof blow off anything. Okay. Wind doesn't get underneath it, yet the insurance companies don't want to insure me.
That brings up, so there's a mixed roof.
Well,
You have a flat deck, kind of an eye.
yeah.
And the hip tuck.
And again, say you got a whole hip roof and you got what was a patio and they made it into a Florida room or something like that. And again, an older house, if those rafters or trusses go into the house, okay, that configuration, that becomes part of the structure. If you put a aluminum thing that they're just screwing the aluminum panels to the fascia board, this type of thing, that's not part of the structure. And therefore that part that would be flat is not going against anything on this report. So that's the positive of the older style like that. But if it goes into the house and, you know, when they re-roof it with like rolled roofing and then do the shingles and stuff, that's part of your house structure. And therefore you will rarely get a discount on that, because even if you got a 10 by 20 room, you got 30 minimum running lineal feet there, and the whole rest of the house isn't half of that. So, you know, that's what you got with that. But no, just no gables, you'll be fine. So that's the biggest thing, right, JJ?
I'm gonna go look.
So anyways, but
Question online.
okay.
Any issues, or what are the current issues with copper piping? Was the first question.
Again, copper is accepted by the insurance companies. Much like anything else, polybutylene is usually the only one that has been having insurance issues. In general, many plumbing companies are again using salesmen and trying to tell people unnecessarily that they need to re-pipe the whole house because of copper. For those of you that have been at this for a while, back in the 80s, and it was very common in Cape Coral as well as Sanibel that they used, it's called type M plumbing, and M is the grade, the thickness of the pipe. And it was made with a few more impurities, and it was a thinner wall copper. Most, if not all, of those homes have been replaced, usually with CPVC. Some got replaced with polybutylene and been replaced again after that. But again, prevalent in homes in the 80s. We did find one just yesterday in Sanibel, the one on Parkview, that still had the type M copper underneath. No corrosion, but it still had that. And again, we pointed it out to the buyer just because it could be something down the road. Again, insurance companies, crazy things, you want to do everything you can with that. But other than sometimes, I mean, any type of plumbing can fail, period. It doesn't matter. One little thing could be just a miss a little bit and might take 30 years to show up. You don't know. But in my humble opinion, if it's copper, you shouldn't have any problems. My house is built in 91. I've got copper through the whole place and I don't have any kind of issues with any of it there. But if it had been in the 80s, I'm sure it would have been replumbed by now. So in general, I mean, any type there could be, but in general, copper is as good as just about anything else on the market.
Is there a way to tell if it's type M?
Yes, it's a red letter that's stamped right on the pipe itself. The type that you hope for is type L, which is a blue stamp, blue printing on the pipe itself. And usually only in commercial will you find type K, which is the thickest of the piping, but usually you only find that in commercial or industrial. L is good, the M is what we had the issues with there. So that's the ones that have been replaced for the most part. That's it?
They're all the same. Everybody wants to know about copper piping.
Okay, no, good questions though. Copper pipe used to be, quick story, there was a guy that used to be one of the top realtors in Cape Coral. He fell in love with somebody on the East Coast, sold his house, and I got the chance to go and inspect it. And JJ knows who I'm talking about. But I go up there, and not only was the house only 10 years old, but it was way back when, again, in the 80s, the dimensional shingles were just coming out, and the shingles were failing on this house. Get into the attic, and nice green corrosion right in the middle of the attic with the pipe there. So it was about ready to pop. And this is 94, 95. And I was called everything but a home inspector by this very, professional realtor, which is hopefully still on the East Coast. But, anyways, but again, those are the things you find out, you look at and everything like that. Much like Chinese drywall, that all came out. Nobody knew about that until at least 3 years after the fact. And again, most of those homes have been remediated and taken care of, but most being the key word there, we still find usually about one a month that still has Chinese drywall and or the effects thereof. But for the most part, that's taken care of itself too. So any other general questions as we went off the Chinese drywall world there for a second on home inspections or anything? Yes.
Right on.
What about it?
If that was found.
Mhm.
Remediated.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's right. There's a.
Remediation systems are in place. So if the system is working, it will keep the radon level under the 4.0 picocuries. Okay. We've had occasion where, again, any first floor condos that's in a concrete block where there's at least one or more stories above it, it's going to be high with radon. I'm not a gambling man, but I'll put JJ up to it, and she will gamble, and she'll make money on that. The level will come up high. Lexington Country Club, the first one I ever did in this, I'd been doing it, but did one in there. It came up, and mind you, 4 is the magic number. It came up at 28.9, and it was a first floor end unit with more windows in it than any other, one in the first floor. 28.9, to the point that I called the realtor, said, get back here, I'm taking another machine, putting it in, because I thought there's something wrong with the machine. And it came back at 29.1. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with the machine. Even the hideaways here off of 41 and stuff like that, built in the 80s, same type of thing. First floor units, boom, it doesn't matter. They're going to be high. My office condo right off of Whiskey Creek on, Summerlin and College Parkway there. Yes, my office, and I'm in the middle, first floor, got 2 units on each side of me and a whole floor up top. And I run about a 5.5. And yes, that's why I glow in the dark. But yeah, but that's it. And again, keep one thing in mind when it comes to radon. Radon is the second leading cause of lung cancer. We all know what number 1 is. So if you smoke, don't waste my time or your money on getting a radon test. I mean, you're already doing number 1. Why are you worried about number 2? Yeah. Check up and stuff. And to the point like this, they have a little vent on the outside. It looks like almost like a dryer vent, but there's no louvers to it that collapse or anything. It's permanently like open. And with Ian and Irma and stuff, depending on which way the winds were blowing, a lot of these vents got clogged, and there's nothing more than a little piece of filter material inside and they get clogged. And then the machine, the mitigation system, cannot do what it's designed to do. So you want to be sure if you have a system that, yes, you get it looked at and serviced if necessary regularly. I won't say every year or every 6 months or whatever, but routinely, yes.
Great question.
Yep.
How often do you get a request to do radon mitigation? How much does it cost? I forgot my third question.
Well, welcome to my world.
Yeah, how much is the inspection? How often do you do it and how much? I suppose it depends on the square footage in the building. What's the cost of doing it?
The mitigation, we don't do. We only do the testing. Okay, but in general, somewhere around $2,000 is the usual price on most systems. Sometimes less, sometimes a little more, depending on the configuration, whether it's a condo or a house. And to this point, I haven't said this yet, but newer houses with impact windows and they're built a little tighter, you know, DR Horton hates me. Okay, because they run about a 5 on all their new construction. And again, 4 is the magic number. And so, but DR Horton, unless they change something recently, they won't do anything about it. They, so it's just good to know. But the tighter the house is, the less the air can exchange and stuff. My house built in the 90s, nothing. Okay, I can have all granite everywhere and stuff, and it won't. And again, remember that if it comes from Mother Earth, it's given off radon. So marble and granite and stuff like that all adds to the equation. The test itself, $195. It's a 48-hour minimum test that we do. And I say that because the machine will take up to 5 days worth of hourly readings on it. It's about this big, you know.
Where would you put it in the house?
Can't put it around plumbing. Okay, so kitchens and bathrooms and laundry rooms are out 9 times out of 10. Usually we try to put it like in a out of place room, i.e. a guest bedroom or something like that, little end table type thing in the hallway or something like that, as long as the surface itself isn't marble or granite or stone of some type. If you put that machine, 60 Minutes did this a while back. They not only did a radon test, but they put a Geiger counter on a granite countertop, put a glass bowl or top, and you could see the way it was ticking off. And all that uranium is turning into radon gas. So you don't want to put it on any surface like that. And of course, you don't want to put it right on the floor. You want it to be a couple of feet above the floor and through there. So there's parameters, and the people that do the testing should know those parameters. But other than that, you're pushing a button, you set the thing, and you're picking it up and sending the signals off. And it's pretty simple, deal.
We do it all the time. And it has to be on the property disclosure.
Yeah.
That is either been tested or assessed.
Yep.
But I have not yet had anybody do a radon.
Yeah. And again, just keep in mind, because I just gave you the clue as to where we're finding it. Okay. And these first floor condos, it's a given as long as it's not a frame building. And in single family homes, again, back to the condos, what I just told you, 100% of the time. Okay. Unless somebody's trying to cheat it by leaving a window open or something like that.
I've had 6 of them past
Yeah.
3 or 4 years. All of them first floor condos, all of them tested like around 8 to 10.
Right. Yeah. And that's, oh, they just use an exhaust fan, 4-inch PVC, and
But at $2,000.
yeah.
But all right, so
It's not condo, it's a home.
Radiation tolerance.
I'm sorry.
Two radon tests,
Mhm.
we already have the mitigation. system in place.
Mhm.
Would that be on all the tests is going?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. And
And you're,
Yeah.
you check it tested every 2 years.
stuff like that, whatever makes you
I
comfortable.
mean, the system.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, if you can tell that it's introducing fresh air into the home, you're okay. But if you have like a storm or something like what we had where there might be some, something that's blocking the flow of air into it. You talk about Minnesota and the Great White North and everything. They're exhausting out. Here we're bringing fresh air in. Okay, so we're kind of like doing it the opposite way. We're diluting the air as opposed to sucking it up.
Do you have an excessive amount of radon in Cape Coral single family homes? Or have you ever found a huge amount of radon in Cape Coral single family homes?
Single family homes is depends on the age, and as we're talking about the newer products with the high impact windows, they're more airtight than everything. Those, it's probably about 1 out of 3, 1 out of 4. Like I said, some of these new contractors, yes, they're doing their job very well, but it makes the house that much tighter. And usually those numbers come in around 5 to 5.5, high 4s, middle 5, something like that. Like my house built in the 90s, I do a test every so often in my house just when I'm calibrating the machines, and I only have usually a 2. If you have a house that has the older style windows and things like that, your chances of having it are negligible. But keep in mind, see what your client is comfortable with. If they come from a place, i.e. Illinois, where it's mandatory that these tests be done in that state, they might want it done just because. And whatever your client wants is, if they don't want it, I tell everybody, get us something signed. They didn't want it or anything like that. I don't care if it's on the back of a bar napkin, get it signed that they didn't want the radon test, that they didn't want the home inspection, that they didn't want the termite inspection, just get it signed is the biggest thing on that, because that protects everybody when it comes to this. The other thing, back to the radon just for a second, when it comes to the actual testing though, we talk about if somebody knows a little too much, if you will, I had one guy in particular in Lexington. He was a first floor condo and he knew it was going to come up high, and he was there and everything, and he just left the windows on different spots open, literally that 1 inch, kept his air conditioning down so we couldn't tell that you had the difference. But what he forgot about was the humidity level, and yes, the machine picks up the humidity level, and the humidity level in the unit was high. So I busted him anyways, but his number was acceptable, except his humidity level was 72%, and so, he tried to trick the machine. I've had, again, doing the radon stuff for over 20 years. I've had a couple guys that, and both were men, that they thought they could trick it as well. And you could tell when they went in and opened the windows and when they came back and closed the windows, again, because the machine takes hourly readings. And when you go from 14 to 2.4, from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, guess what got closed at 5? The windows got closed again at 5, and then by 6 o'clock, the radon levels go back up to what they normally would be. And that's why an hourly reading is done. The machines also have a sensor if somebody's trying to move them to a spot where they shouldn't be, i.e. in front of an open window or something like that. So you can tell that. So machines are just little green boxes, but they're quite technical when it comes to what they do in and out with stuff like that. So yeah.
Got you.
Okay.
Talk about mold related to like hurricanes and things like
Okay.
that.
Okay. Mold testing. Yes, we're doing a lot of mold testing, and homes that were affected by the water intrusion, obviously. Many people want to get it effectively fixed and stuff. Most times the contractors are doing an effective job on it, cutting out whatever is necessary. Sometimes as little as 3 feet to as much as 8-10 feet or more and stuff. Again, I was on Sanibel yesterday and some of those houses were over the roof line on some of those houses there. But the key is the person that's taking it out and before they get it back in, that they properly remediate as best they possibly can in the affected areas. And best remediation is just that, getting it out. These companies will come in with blowers that will, literally try to move the air out as best possible. Some will use antimicrobial methods to go and treat the trusses and different things. The big problem we have sometime, and it's if, say, you get a bathroom that's got a tile shower or a tile that's on a wall, particularly if it's an outside wall where you can't get to one side at all. Yes, there can be some mold that's trapped in there, but again, most remediations will do the best they possibly can, and yeah, you do what you have to do. There is a process called ozone generation, which basically uses an ozone generator to put a high level of ozone throughout the home, and it gets into the spots where you can't routinely get to, and it effectively kills off the mold spores that's in there. And even on before Ian and stuff, when we would do something that came up high within a certain range of certain types of spores, the ozone has proven to be very effective on that. And then many times we go in and we'll take the samples after everything has been ripped out and treated, but not necessarily finished off, to see what the air levels are of the mold spores in there. And when it comes back clean, the owner will have a piece of paper from the lab saying that your levels are this, and they're not elevated or elevated, and then you go forward with something else there. But most of these guys are doing an effective job on it. I'd say 5 out of 100 have been coming back where they had to do a few more steps to get it right and stuff, but most have been very effective. But then again, the owner wants something saying that we did this and we tested this, and again, it's just something for the disclosure if and when they decide to sell the property, that they'll have
more regular mold as opposed to toxic mold.
Correct. Yeah, rarely are we finding the quote unquote Stachybotrys. The type that we find most commonly with this is called Aspergillus penicillium. And it's the most common type of mold that there is without water intrusion. We used to find this spore in the cleanest of homes where food gets behind the refrigerator or under the oven and stuff like this. And we've all seen green bread in our lifetime, and that's penicillium. Okay, so the husband gets up and makes the wife a couple pieces of toast and butters it up and puts the jam, and a crumb goes this way and a crumb goes that way. And before she gets out of bed, he sweeps them over on the side of the oven so they go down and can't be seen. Well, then Mother Nature takes over and you got penicillium shows up when Bill comes in and takes spores. It's as simple as cleaning out behind the appliances in the cupboards or anything like that it could be. And again, the ozone generation would be like the cherry on top of the sundae to make sure it's all gone. But the other cause of penicillium is high humidity, as well as the moisture that comes in. And when we went as long as we did without power in a lot of places, and obviously the high humidity factor, that's where we're finding this level of penicillium coming up where you wouldn't normally see it. So, but the Stachybotrys, which is the black mold, rarely has that been showing up on anything. Yes.
What vendors have this ozone generation?
There's one company that I know of, and it's called Air Quality Services. They are right here in Fort Myers.
Thank you.
And I shouldn't know this number by heart, but I do. 482-1412. 1412. the gal that owns the place, her name is Nicole. Well, her father started the business way back when, 20 some years ago, when it was 22 years ago now. When I got into mold testing, and we talked about this, and he started the ozone generation business, and his daughter worked with him there, and he passed 5-6 years ago now, and she's been running the operation very well, since then and everything. So she knows it back and forth and everything. So it's, but she does a good job with it and everything. But so I don't normally recommend anybody, because technically we're not supposed to. No, it's yes, but it's in Florida statutes that I'm not supposed to do that. So, but I just did. Okay. Please.
Question from online. Are you seeing any groundwater coming up in the floors in Cape Coral?
Sometimes, and again, when we get to higher levels like this, it doesn't even have to be with Ian. The effective thing is, if you all saw your concrete slab that your house is built on, within the first 18 months of it, it's all sorts of crack, and then we put flooring over the top. Again, my house built in the 90s. I bought it when it was 6 years old, and ripped out all the carpeting, and it looked like a road map all through there. Patched it, sealed it, no problems after the fact. But many times that isn't the case, and people don't go to patch and stuff. So when we do have high levels of water like this, will it work through the cracks? Yes, sometimes it can. Are we seeing much of it? No, but it is the occasional occurrence that we will see. Lots of times, if you get enough of it, the thin set will give away underneath the tiles, and the tiles actually pitch up. We call it teepeeing, like a wigwam, like tenting up like that, and sometimes you can see that. So, any other questions?
That was it. Somebody commented that they had a listing off of Willwood Parkway in 2005, only had a 4 for radon, but the buyer still put in the mitigation system.
And again, it's whatever makes the client feel good is what yeah, we have to take care of them as best we possibly can. Sometimes everything we do is never enough, but we still try. And I don't know what it says about us, but we're still doing it. So,
there you go. Okay, one final question relating to these things. Now our current owners, if we have a listing, they have a 4-point and they have a wind mitt. Will that transfer, or will the insurance companies use it for the buyers, or are they going to require a new one?
Usually not. Usually they're going to want something that's in the new owner's name. They usually won't transfer it. Again, they're looking for any reason not to give you a discount. And again, if it's done when we do the home inspection, it's $100 for the wind mitigation. It's $100 for the 4-point, but keep in mind, whether they don't do it at that time, now we get all the information that's needed to fill out the reports. Say there's something major with the house, and they scheduled to have the 4-point done in the wind, and already paid the $100 each, and now they're not going to buy the house. They've just flushed that money away. Because I'm a nice guy, but once I sit up till 8 o'clock at night and write the report, the money's mine. Anyway, but so we get all the information. So it's very common for the buyer to call up and say, okay, we're going through it. Now the insurance company wants the 4-point stuff. We don't have to go back. This is the biggest thing. We don't have to waste anybody's time. We've got all the information and all the pictures already taken. And yes, I just sit at the computer until 8 o'clock at night and do the reports up.
And if you list it, you've got information you can use to help promote and sell the house. So what's the key? Use a home inspector, get 4 points, get wind mitts, talk to your customers about radon and mold and any other possible environmental issues that they might have. And if they have questions, send them to the expert, be the source of the resource, as they say.
And if you call us, 2 of them in the office said, well, one's been with me since day one, so she's been there for 30 years. My office manager's been there 10, 11 years now, and so she knows most of the answers for the questions you might ask as well. So the good news from 8 to 5, you can just call our office, whether I'm here or there or wherever, and get some answers. And if you ask a question that they don't know the answer, then they'll give it to me and you'll get a call at 7 o'clock tonight. So, but we'll get it to you. And again, for the realtors as well, if you come up with a weird situation or something, not sure, call us. You know, we might have the answer or tell you how to get the answer on a situation, so everything can keep going forward. So
very good. Thank you. And this will get loaded up into YouTube, and watch it in case you forget things, which we can do as we get a little older. And we always send out every class with peace.
thank you.